All right, guys, these are the notes regarding grammar lesson, specifically nouns. In class, the assignment is for you to be watching the video and taking notes. You will submit those notes for participation credit. The video is nice because you can pause it, rewind it, and go at your own pace. So feel free to replay anything that you need to hear once more again. We'll go ahead and start on the first slide. As you guys already know, and I know this is a review for most of us, a noun can be a person, place, thing, or idea. However, nouns that are ideas are sometimes kind of abstract, so we don't always know that they are nouns. For example, something like freedom, okay? You can't pick freedom up and throw it across the room. You can see the effects of freedom or a lack of freedom on a person, but ideas are typically going to be more abstract. So just wanted to make a note there. Go ahead and complete the practice. It says nouns are underlined. Identify if it's a person, place, thing, or idea. You can go ahead and just write it right above. Feel free to pause the video here while you fill it out and then check in a second and press play to see if you're correct. Man is a person. Beach is a place. Shovel is a thing. Freedom is an idea. On the box on the right-hand side, write a sentence using a noun that is a thing, and then using a noun that's an idea. Go ahead and type your answers right there. When you're done, go ahead and highlight whatever word is your thing or idea noun. Like I said, pause the video, do the work, and then move on to the next slide. Okay? When nouns are acting as subjects, they are the who or the what that the sentence is about. Your guys' copy of the notes have fill in the blank, so make sure you're writing those in. It also reminds us who is performing or what's connected to the verb. Okay? We double underline verbs in my class, so I just like to start that even though we haven't been to our official verb lesson. For example, the apples are dancing. The apple is dancing. Notice here we have a sentence that's regarding the plural. So we use the verb are, sorry, I should highlight it like this, are dancing. Okay, and then we have singular, and we have is for singular. We have talked about linking verbs a little bit in our writing, but in this indicator for the nouns, we have single and plural. Okay, but the single or plural nature of the noun that's acting as the subject does impact what verb you use. So even though this is a noun lesson, that's why I went over briefly what the verbs are doing in this sentence as well. Go ahead on your own. You're going to practice. Write one sentence with the singular subject and one sentence with the plural subject. Of course, making sure you're using the right verb. Remember, you can pause this video at any point to complete the work. The last little bit of the note was just to remind you that I give you that definition for a singular versus a plural noun right here. Scrolling to the next slide, we're still on when nouns are acting as subjects. So this is going to be a very important note later on when we get to prepositional phrases, but they are never in a prepositional phrase. So later when we look for prepositional phrases, the subject of the sentence will never be in that phrase. Secondly, we have this idea of a command. You can imply the person that you're talking to as you say, set the table. Okay, if mom is standing in the kitchen, she looks at you and she says, set the table. We know that she's talking to us based on her tone, her body language, and probably eye contact. Number 3, a subject always has to be connected to a verb. So whether it's an action verb or a linking verb, the noun in the sentence will always come with a predicate or a verb. Predicate is a fancy way of saying verb, so if you see it in grammar lessons, that is what they are talking about there. Compound subjects include one or more. So we have Sally and Joe. If the assignment was asking us for the subject, we would include Sally and Joe as a compound subject. Okay? They are joined by a conjunction. In this case, it was the word and. So when we look at nouns, there's all different types. And in our no red ink activities, we have been looking at those different types as a warm-up. So for example, the first kind is a common noun. It indicates a person, animal, place, thing, or idea in a general way rather than a specific. Okay? So when you see a common noun, you're thinking a regular shoe, a regular couch, a regular lamp. There's no specific brand or label connected to it. That takes us to proper nouns. Proper nouns are considered one of a kind and more specific. Okay? For example, Disneyland is a specific theme park. Michael Jordan is a specific basketball player. Converse sneakers are a specific tennis shoe. Notice that we capitalize our proper nouns because they are brand names. In the sentence below, it asks, "Will you please take me to the Disneyland park?" If you just said theme park, the person would be able to choose any theme park they wanted. Six Flags, Knott's Berry Farm, maybe even Disney World in Florida. But when you specifically ask somebody to take you to Disneyland, you are using a proper noun and it's asking for something very specific. Remember, you're filling in the blanks. These notes will be submitted. Pause the video as needed. Next, we have our abstract and concrete nouns. Abstract nouns are something that you cannot taste, cannot touch, cannot smell, hear, or see. It typically relates to things that are abstract, like ideas, feelings, or concepts. For example, you cannot see joy. You can see the effects of joy on somebody, but you cannot physically pick up joy, put it in your purse, and walk to the store. So that's how we know it's abstract. It's a feeling. Concrete nouns are something that you can see, hear, taste, smell, or touch. So you could pick up a hot piece of pizza, feel how warm it is in your hand, and have to set it down on the plate quickly because it's concrete. You can touch it. The practice below says nouns are bolded and underlined below. Please highlight the concrete nouns and circle the abstract nouns. Go ahead, take a second, and fill out the examples. I'm going to go ahead and move on so the video is not too long. You can pause it at any point. We have a concrete noun. We have a concrete noun, a concrete noun, and we have something abstract. Take a second and mark it on your notes. Okay, next one, we have pizza and table. You can hold the pizza in your hand. You can set a cup on the table. Both of them are concrete. Okay, this last one's a little bit tricky. So we have spaceship, which is concrete. Then we have invasion, and we have war. Students sometimes want to mark both of these as concrete, but war, for example, you see the two armies fighting, you know that the governments are at odds, but you can't pick up war and set it on the table. Same with the invasion. You can see people invading, you can see the effects of an invasion by an army, but you can't actually pick up the invasion and hold it in your hand or even set it on a table. So those are ideas or concepts that are abstract. This is a really nice explanation of abstract versus concrete. If you need clarification, feel free, pause this, and then go ahead and read it on your own. But I just wanted to highlight this one thing. We don't actually see war. We see the explosions, we see everything that indicates war, but we don't actually see war or even peace. We feel the signs for it, and so we can pick up on what it is. The next type of noun is a countable noun. Anything that can be counted. Okay, for example, you could have 2 dogs, 3 dogs, 4 dogs. You could have 1 orange, or you could have 3 oranges for breakfast. The article right here, un, is indicating that there's 1 orange, okay? If there were multiple, you'd have to tack an S onto the oranges. Number 6 talks about non-count nouns, things that are uncountable. Oftentimes, these are difficult to spot because in spoken English, people use them incorrectly all the time. So, for example, you cannot count water. You cannot count, this one's, I guess, a little bit different. So with furniture, you don't ever say furnitures, okay? You either have multiple furniture or you have 1 piece of furniture. But whether it's plural or singular, it's the same word. So a lot of people use that one incorrectly. Another example would be something like advice. You don't say, give me all of your advices. You say, give me all of your advice, and it can be 1 thing or multiple things. Okay, sorry, I just realized that the glass of water is covering our end of our sentence there. So, try and drink 5 glasses of water every day. I didn't say try and drink waters every day. I had to indicate that it was plural by having this section over here. The word all in this sentence indicates that there are multiple breads on the table. To the next slide, okay. Then we get to the concept of singular versus plural nouns. Singular nouns, as we talked about earlier, only indicate 1 person, place, animal, thing, or idea. When we get to plural nouns, there are some rules regarding the different spelling forms. So when it comes to plural nouns, most of them can be formed by adding an S to the end of the word. Looks like I forgot one for desks, so we'll just add it right there. Okay, but when it ends in an S, SH, CH, X, or Z, we actually have to add an ES. Especially if English is not your first language, this can be one of those tricky things that you just have to memorize. So S, SH, CH, X, or Z, we would add an ES to make it plural. When a singular noun ends in an O, you just add an S. I give you some examples here. And when it ends in an O, but it's preceded by a consonant, you add ES. That means it's not a vowel. So we have ES, 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 and ES. But notice the consonants. So we have consonant T, consonant R, consonant G, consonant H, and consonant T again. When the singular nouns end in Y with a consonant right before it, you change the Y to an I and add ES. Okay, this is our consonant. Here's our Y. And then I add the IES. Finally, if it's preceded by a vowel, here's a list of our vowels. If the Y is preceded by a vowel, you do not change the Y to an I. you just add S. Notice the vowel before the Y. Okay, take your time plugging in your own notes, and when you're ready, scroll to the next slide. The last one's a little tricky. If it ends in an F, you're going to just add an S. There are not a ton of words that end in F, but here are some examples. Okay, you can practice here with the plural form. If you would like to double check it with me, please send me a message on Schoology or come by during tutorial. I will just briefly say that mouse turns to mice, which is it's a completely different word. If English is not your first language, this would probably be something that we would need to look up. And tooth become teeth. So if you're not sure on these, give it a quick Google search. Let me know if you have any trouble, but these are some tough ones just to help you have some extra practice before homework. We briefly mentioned compound nouns earlier, but it's basically something that's been made up of two or more words. So for example, fire is a word and flies is a word. We can combine it and make one word, fireflies. Same with hairstyle and blackboard. Black is a color, board is its own noun. Collective nouns are made for a collection or group of people or things. So for example, within a herd, you could have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 goats or sheep. Okay? Within an army, there are going to be multiple soldiers. Within a student council, the council is not just made up of one person, it's made up of multiple. Number 9, gerunds are a little bit more advanced, but it's worth introducing. It's basically when a word is taken from a verb, but it acts as a noun. Okay, so for example, you have to think, but it's turned into a gerund by adding the ing. So it's thinking. Fishing comes from the root to fish, and the same rule applies to write and to listen. When you add the ing, however, it turns them into a noun. Okay, that takes us to the end of the notes. If you have questions on any part of this, obviously, please ask myself in class or over Zoom. Hopefully this helps, and we will go over the grammar homework as well. Thank you so much, guys, for watching the video. Make sure you filled out all of your notes and that you are uploading it to get credit for your note taking.